Hello friends, this is an addendum on video number 5 of commentary on the movie Alien 1979 release. So this is again an addendum. I need to correct a few things and add certain ideas or observations. So I want to play this a little bit slowly to you here. Keep looking at Parker's face. And like I said, those yellow stripes here, I do not know what these are. There's the red and there's the blue and there is the yellow. The yellow seems to be between the two and always less in numbers, you know, in numbers. And it could be communications through a third party who is a mule, who doesn't know what is being communicated, right? So that's, and you can see that blue round thing, right? Blue hexagon or pentagon or octagon, right? On Parker's eye. The same thing we saw when Kane took his descent in that pit floating next to him, or reflecting off the side just above the cheek of Dallas when he was at the council. And now his mouth, he opens his mouth and then he opens his eyes wide, right? He's gaping, right? And you know, his mouth is lit as if he has mustache, right? Yes, that is what it is, right? I mean, that's intentional. So what I'm trying to say here is there's no love lost between the two. And the relationship is on its last leg, apparently. And it's not the relationship of brotherhood or a relationship of partnership or anything else. It's just that there's a common interest and there is hostility, undeclared hostility. He's going to ask a question.
If they find what they're looking for out there, that mean we get full shares?
Don't worry, Parker. You'll get whatever's coming.
To me, that's like a promise, a threat, a hostility here shows on her, in her tone and on her face, right? And it seems like the relationship is strained to its last, on its last breath, and somehow it will eventually be severed, and then Parker will get really nothing, is what I'm seeing here.
Look, I'm not gonna...
And we always we see Parker chewing, right? That means he's got ravenous appetite, you know, insatiable appetite. Or the notion here is that in order to get his, he's a greedy, you know, you have to pay your dues to get his services, right? Being able to infiltrate societies and shapeshift and things of the sort, right? And that you have to always pay him, right? You always pay him, right? That's why he's always chewing. So he's always chewing, right? Chewing here is, I believe that's what it is. It's ravenous appetite for money, for shares, for whatever.
Stop, Brett. You're guaranteed by law to get a share. What? Why don't you just fuck off? What?
So Brett, being a human being, right, gets his share by law. This guy doesn't get anything. You will get whatever is coming to you. But this one here gets his shares. The law guarantees his portion or his share, right? This I still don't understand, right? Okay, here I wanted to see something. When Brett looks at the camera or the moving spirit or moving xenomorph, that is not so obvious, right? The ghost, let's go to the ghost, right? These, look, the way he's looking at him, right? The way he's looking at him, it seems like both of these guys, Brett and Parker, and perhaps Ripley, they know that someone is here They can either see that someone, or they feel it, or they know. They have some kind of a deal going on, or understanding, or whatever it is. They're on a mission. Let me show you what I mean. And now there's fog, right? The fog of smoke. You know, like smoke. This one, there's smoke, right? Let's go back. See how Parker is looking at Brett, when Brett is looking at the entity or the ghost that is moving about, and then the ghost is actually made probably of smoke, right? It's not real material. Notice, see, look, you know, they're on the same page here. There's some kind of common feelings and understandings, you know. Let's try again. See, he's smiling. The smile here is they see what is happening. Did you see it? Right? Biscuits. Biscuits. He wants money. Biscuit is like coin. Some kind of a BUTT coin. Coin. Cornbread, frankly, they don't like that, right? They want something better. Prime steak, such as like those hedge funds, you know, that you cause turmoil in a country just to own its economy and finances.
I am cold.
Still with us, Brett?
Still with us, Brett? I think they're talking now because the ghost or entity or the spirit that just is circling them, right, is circling this gathering around the table, right, is sitting now or situated between Brett and Parker. And when he said, "Are you still with us, Brett?" I do believe now I have probably changed my theory now, or testimony about this. And he's wearing green, remember. I think they're talking to the entity. Still with us, Brett? You know, they're talking to that spirit, right? Are you still on our side? Still with us?
Right.
Right. Okay. So that gesture on the face says something similar to Cain waking up, you know, first and then thinking hard and so on. And both of them are actually drinking coffee, right? He and Ripley. So Ripley, by the way, is something similar to Ridley. You know Ridley, the guy who directed this movie, right? And Ripley. I don't know if this is a coincidence or whatever it is, but maybe these two are related somehow, right? Or, I don't know, Ripley and Ridley, right?
Right.
So he just had like a real sip of something rare, closed his eyes, right? And he had a drink that burned his throat. It's like acidic or something. Well, it's coffee, right? Coffee is strong, right? It burns your throat, but it's healthy. And she, like I said, now there's a common conversation between the three, Ripley or Ridley, and then Brett, and then Parker, and then the cat. Notice the cat.
Anybody ever tell you he looked there?
Okay, so the plot here is pretty obvious now, right? They are in fact talking about him, and then he is the bait. Now, my explanation to this is very simple. They were on an expedition to trap a big entity or an entity, right? And then he was the bait or the first carrier, the temporary carrier, right? Just to make sure that Jonesy did not perish in the process, right? So they would go first with Cain, and then they would see how the things turn out, and then they eventually do the work, which I will explain later, to transition from Cain to Jonesy, right? Jonesy is still mysterious to me. I think he came out of that old or fossilized space jockey who is Ripley and Sarah, or her ancestors or something, right? It could be here because she's jumping from one movie and sequel to another, after 100 years, after blah blah, right? So it could be someone else. Is she a spirit? I don't know. But I think what happened to them is here, proceeding blindly, as I showed you a little bit earlier, right? When they were talking, Brett and Parker, when they were arguing with Ripley about shares, dollars and cents, right? 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 But I think what happened to them is there was an external intervention by a spirit, great, big, gigantic spirit, or, it turned against them when they entered that room or that chamber, that inner sanctum of that big xenomorph entity. I will go ahead and visit that again and show you what I mean by it. I told you before, I explained what I think it is, but I'm going to revisit that again. Okay, here you could probably see, look at Ash. Notice Ash. He's performing some gesture that looks familiar to me, being a Muslim, right? Notice how he's making prayer with his hands and whispering with his lips, right? Did you see what he did? Let's repeat that again. Notice, observe Ash and how he prays. This is like prayer to God. This is not the prayer that when we prostrate down toward Mecca, right? Okay. Right? Right. Okay, here I think where their plan went awry, right? Got derailed. They're no longer on the same, their information and plot and plans and so on and designs and, the course of action just got derailed, right? When they entered here, the entity that was here, or the spirit or the ghost or whoever it is, right, is turned out to be extremely large, right? And that's apparently is where they couldn't they failed to calculate for or consider. Notice. See? The music, right? And this guy, which is a camera, is backing out now, right? But he's huge, right? Notice. Huge. Big, huge, right? He stands up waiting for them. Notice, the music here, I think, is whenever they play this music, is whenever there is a total change without the ability or beyond the point of no return, right? At the point of no return. Here, what I mean by that is faithful, right? Whenever they play that music is when there is a total shift forward, right? There's no going back. So the music here is for Cain, right? And the entire expedition here, what happened here is irreversible. Let's play that again. Notice the music, the faithful music, or the marker, delimiter of a change all over, right? No going back, right? And that's faithful change, major change, right? Whether it's for person or the entire, or if it's a person, like Ripley said, we could all, he could die, she said, we could all die, right? So the change per person influences or affects the entire crew, right? That's what Ripley was talking about. And that's the music here is when it happened. There's no going back, right? Again, notice how big the entity is. And then later, when Ash opens the door for them as they come back with the infected Cain, right? Like I said, he's cohorting with the entity, whether it's not so obvious. Like I said, he has his own agenda, but he could be also in league with those ghosts and entity. Notice the music and the entity. The music now. Right? Okay, you notice that now this here is probably a different different ghost or spirit, not the one that stood up like largely. So what are we seeing here, and what we're not seeing is probably, let's say, a queen, right? You know how they portray in subsequent releases or sequels, they portray the queen as giant, right, with this giant head and so on, and then there are its surrounding hair, or surrounding it is its own offsprings and eggs and so on. So that's what it means, but I don't think that's what they mean by that. This is not a queen. This is the major spirit here. Suddenly it was here, and they somehow stumbled upon it, right? That's not something they had in mind or calculated for or planned or expected or figured out. No, 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 no. It seems to me like all the way through the crew, they could not figure out what's going on until they encounter the here, because these are humans, they still don't see what's going on. They have encountered those great ghosts or spirits or entities and invisible entities, right? Here, especially that gigantic one, but they're human. However, when Parker goes to collect or look out for Brett when he was being taken up, right, being hoisted up in the ceiling by that xenomorph, right? He sees. Now Parker sees. That's why he came back trembling, right, and shivering and trembling and stuttering and in fear, and he kept repeating the word. It's huge. It's big. It's big. Big here does not mean probably big in size, but not just in size. What he's talking about here is this is above and beyond whatever he knew or encountered or saw, right? And that's what I mean by it. They mean by it God or Allah. So these guys will not know, because if Parker was here, right? If Parker was here, he would have seen, right? And then he would have told them to go out. That's why in a later movie, when Fassbinder, right, talks to what's called the engineer or space hopper, right? The engineer, basically, what does he do, right? That alien that was the remaining alien, right? He severs his head, right? He kills him right away, right? Because he knows that Fassbinder, as the synthetic, right, which is similar to Ash here, saw him, right? So he just basically decapitated him right there, and then because he knows that Fassbinder knew, excuse me for saying that, I don't mean like he decapitated the synthetic, right? Because he knew that the synthetic can clearly see him and see what he's about, right? But these guys are clueless, right? I mean, they're observing by way of senses what's going on, and fossilized and blah, 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 blah. But they just can't, their senses can't go beyond their comprehension and understanding and observation. Keen sense of observation does not go beyond their senses, right? And if they want to think about what might be here, and if I was there and saw stuff like that, I would reconsider the whole thing, the whole expedition, the whole mission, completely. And then there you go. You got your 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6. This whole room is like 6 cells, right? Triple 6 and whatnot, right? Nice shade. All right, give me a second. Okay, I want to repeat this here again. I have a note to make, right? I don't know what that is. You see that red reflection here? I really don't know what that is. And again, in this movie and those iconic movies that stay and resolve for a long time, like half a century, like this one, everything has a meaning. So I don't know what that red spot is, red stain here, or red reflection. Okay, so here what happened is, again, we know this has been opened by leaking acid, right? Acid and, that acid for blood in the xenomorph. So apparently there has been a terrible fight or interaction, right? Give me a second. Yeah, so there has been apparently like a monumental struggle here. Or it could be that someone tried to kill or remove a face hugger, gigantic face hugger, from somebody, similar to Ash trying to remove the face hugger off the face of Kane's face, right? And then that's when it started leaking acid, and that acid started eating through the hull, right, of the ship. Here is the same, but this here is also indicative of a gigantic entity, right? Gigantic face hugger, as I explained. Those here, those small ones here, small balls, they look like balls. I also think they are leathery objects, those eggs that he eventually gets to meet and hug and get a face hugger out of, right? He gets trapped and caught. But these here are the smaller ones. I'll show you why I'm saying this. Give me a second. Okay, so I told you about those very small leathery objects that were lined up in rows next to Cain when he was peering down, looking down that hole onto the cave. That's a leathery object. Looks like the big one. Look, it's a leathery object. I mean, I'm looking at it here. It's a baby leathery object, right? If you look closely, I mean, my resolution here, my screen resolution is probably not exactly high definition, like the camera and so on. But if you have a movie and you play it, play that DVD, not DVD, rather the Blu-ray, right? Or if you have the 4K, that would be better, right? But there you go. To me, that looks like a leathery object here, which is the children, probably, the resultant children of the encounters back in the derelict ship or other ships as well, right? And look, these are either children or birds. I say chickens, but they really do have eyes and noses and beaks, or or something of the sort, right? But that's definitely, if you look closely at the leathery object that Cain was inspecting very closely, well, it looks like that. I mean, the skin and everything about it says that it is a leathery object in the egg. Again, my advice is don't make a big omelet out of those. So here, during the time when the facehugger jumped out of the egg and then latched onto Cain's helmet, I showed you there's an eye here, right? And that's the eye, right? And there's apparently like a face here or something, right? But this eye here is something, is somewhat religious, right? Or not religious, those clandestine religions and so on. And that is what they term as the internal eye, the third eye, if you know what I'm talking about. The third eye, I think that's something Buddhist or Magi's or something, or Sufi or whatever it is. They keep talking about that internal eye or that third eye, right? So there it is, right? So that's what they mean by that here, is that there's an eye here, meaningly this particular creature here is, like I told you, it's a human being, right? It was actually a human being, and now it is what it is now. I will explain that. But the eye is that internal eye. Notice, it's the eye they keep talking about, right? And somehow, there are like bubbles. I think those bubbles, I don't know where they're from, right? I think there's some kind of a glass between Cain and the facehugger or the egg, right? The leathery object, or something. I don't know. So those basically bubbles. Okay, here, as soon as they finish that scene, they end that scene, they show you the derelict ship. Now I am asking myself a question. What do they mean by that? That means that music that I told you was faithful. Once that latched onto his fate onto his face, his fate and that of the rest of the crew and the Nostromo moved forward, right? And everything that happened before to this ship, right? That's what they're showing you here. So when that encounter ended, right, and then now Cain is possessed, right, or something, that's what happened. They're saying you, they immediately moved to show you the ship, and that's what they're showing you here, is that this ship here is what happened there, right? Two, I am wondering now, is this ship here in a different dimension or different space or different planets, or maybe the entities now, the spirits or whoever they are, the ghosts that are moving about, managing things, especially that very big unseen spirit or ghost or entity that was standing or sitting next to the space jockey or the original Ripley, right? Now they're gonna take off from this planet and go to another planet. Why? Because we're talking about the Nostromo traveling between planets, right? See, I keep contradicting myself, but all these are correct theories, and they, at the end, they kind of link each other, at least in the revelation and the meaning of the plot of the movie, right? So the ship here, this derelict ship, could be invisible, is what I am saying. And the city here is the city of ghosts. Let's put it this way. And that's only a possibility, not a conclusive evidence here. All right, here I want to go back here and I talked about those gowns, white gowns or garments, right? And there's 1 and 2, right? And they're moving, right? As if they're waiting. Okay, so there's 1 and 2, right? And I think I saw 3. I counted 3 if I recall correctly. What these are, I believe, is these are ghosts, right? They're indicative of ghosts, right? Either standing in front or being inside as well. Why am I saying this now? Well, because it's Halloween time, right? The almost end of October. And usually ghosts are illustrated by wearing white gowns, or total, like overall or white gowns, right? So these are ghosts because they are white gowns, right? And so there are 3 here, right? I don't know. I mean, but that's what I told you. These are priests, right? Magian or Magi priests. But now these are indicative of them too, right? Indicative of them. The white gowns, right? Which is similar to Halloween's. You know how the ghosts, Caspar and his friends, they wear white gowns, right? They're all white. You can't see them. Okay, back here I had written notes and they're not exactly in order. When Ripley, and this here scene is indicative or showing us that the ghosts or the spirits or the xenomorphs, the unseen xenomorphs, are moving about, right? Now we see Kane, and the subject is really Kane, right? Dead man, and he is, as I explained, a temporary host or a test, if you will, break-in test to make sure that Jonesy is not getting hurt, right? But here, uh, Ripley is feeding Jones and grooming him, right? So notice, keep looking at Jonesy.
I am cold.
Still with us, Brett?
Keep looking at Jonesy.
Right.
Anybody ever tell you you look dead? Oh, yeah, right. I just forgot something, man. Before we die, I think we ought to discuss the bonus situation.
Right.
Right now, we deserve full share, right?
You see, Mr. Park and I feel that the bonus situation has never been.
Okay, we'll continue.
Right.
Now, we deserve full share, right?
You see, Mr. Park and I feel that the bonus situation has never been on.
Notice how she keeps licking her lips, and that talks about money and so on.
Equitable level.
Ah, you'll get what you're contracted for in breadcrumbs, right? Look at his knee and leg and the way he's throwing crumbs at him, what you contracted for.
For like everybody else.
Yeah, you get salaried. You're a salaried man. You don't go turn over governments and cause wars just because you want to get billions, right? Or get somebody, ex-president, to go back and give you trillions and whatnot, right? So, but now I wanted to show you. She is grooming Jonesy. What does that mean? That means she's grooming him for the position of being possessed by that entity, right? So he is the replacement for Cain, and she's again, doing this thing with her lips, right? So grooming here is being groomed for the role, right?
Everybody else gets more than us. His mother was a coach.
Okay, so Jonesy is the replacement for Cain. Ripley, his guardian, Sarah, his guardian, and now I am certain that he's not her son, right? Uh, but perhaps this. No, he's probably neither. From any party here, right? He's probably an outsider that is got certain qualities as a cat, right? And cat is known to have certain qualities, right? Right. So he's being replaced, groomed, and for a replacement to Cain, right? Okay, back here. One more note on this particular movie. So here you can see it's a leathery object. It's an egg, right? Where there is a, as you can see, this particular thing here, or face hugger, is attached to it or coming out of it, right? So maybe this is an embryo, right? It's an embryo, but not like the big ones. The big ones have already been transformed. Here, this one is still a seed, a small seed, transforming Cain, right? So this is the catcher. It's the brain and the spine. I just told you what it is, right? It's a brain and spine, right? Spinal cord. And then the attachment is the seed, right? So that's that on this one. Let me show you what I mean by brain. And one day I was watching certain medical thing, and then they showed a bear, a human brain, as well as the spinal cord, and it looked so much like that, minus those knuckles, right? Minus those knuckles and minus the small embryo, right? Let me show you. Let me try to show you that. So this here, an anatomy of the inside of the brain. It looks a lot like the face hugger when it attacked Cain. You know, the anatomy looks a lot like it. But let me show you something else. So here, that's the brain and that's the spinal cord. That is the face hugger, right? I found this on the net. I don't know who owns it, but this is a non-profit picture here. So I'm using it, and I could blur it if anybody calls me on this. So, so there you go. That's the face hugger. That's the spinal cord, and that's the brain. Okay, so now we arrive at a point here that the face hugger, right? So he just said Jesus Christ, right? That's significant, right? So is that Jesus on the table? I don't know, but okay, here, this is not exactly a real alien. This here is a process really of converting the man here, Cain, washing his brain or entering him spiritually with that third eye seeing, right, looking on, and so on, right? So he's a small embryo, small egg, or small leathery object, right? So this is not exactly a physical thing. It's either his brain is being converted now by that spirit, by maybe a missionary washing his brain, maybe something. I think I know who they mean by that, but you know what? I'm going to refrain from making any comment on it because I don't think that's what it is. Sometimes what you see in movies is opposite to what reality really is. So while they're saying here this guy's brain is being washed and dominated and imprisoned and it could be liberated really, but that's not our subject here. Our subject here is commenting on the movie. So this is a brain transformation process, no more, no less. So we're going back to freezing him, right? Freeze him. So you will stop the process of him being taken over by the spirit, by the ghost, by entity, by whatever it is. Here they're talking about certain religion. I don't want to mention it. It's one of the best, it's my religion, let's put it this way. So against the law means they're trying to handle him or do things to him that is not against the law, like freezing him, like torturing him, like, you know, making sure that he doesn't receive certain religion or be subject to certain religion. So they will resort to things that are against the law, such as torture, perhaps, like gulags in Russia and something like this, to make sure that he doesn't proceed into his freedom or whatever it is. And that's what he said. God is law, right? Notice this. Yeah. And expected to be obeyed. This is like Stalin and Lenin and Hitler and Assad and Ayatollah and Mao Zedong and whoever it is talking.
Even if it's against the law?
Even if it's against the law, like torturing someone or killing or kidnapping or administering things to them that are illegal and. So God here, so against the law of God, right? So law of God, right? Or law, right?
Well, maybe she has a point, you know. Who the hell knows what that thing is?
I'm gonna get that off.
So that's the face hugger, as I explained it to you. It's really not exactly a physical, organic creature or anything else. This is just a brain. What are the knuckles? I don't know. I show you that they have faces, but there may be like that brain is too powerful and grabbing hard and so on to Kane's face, right? When it latches, it never leaves, is what they're trying to say. Anyway, you can count things, by the way. You can always count things. I don't want to keep counting for you guys. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, I don't know, and there's some behind them. And here you can count all those, and the lights, as a matter of fact, do change per situation. So there's 1, 2, 4, there's 1 and 4 and 1 and 2, 1, 4, 1, 2, 14, 12, right? I don't know what 14, 12, maybe a year. Maybe this is across history, talking about history of transforming, like the history similar to Space Odyssey or Snake Odyssey, 2001 Snake Odyssey. You know, it proceeds across history. Here, maybe there are historical events. I don't know. So that is also possible, but it's just too complex for me all by myself to decipher it. Or pay attention and check every detail. Let's put it this way. I can't do that. So I showed you that circumcised, but look what happens a little bit later. So I showed you what that is, circumcised thing, right? I don't know what the gesture is here. It means like they're trying to say he's getting so and so, similar to Morpheus, you know, when he's in a room with, as I explained it in my commentary on that movie, when he's in a room with Neo and Neo's sweater is as long as a dress, and then he, you know, do whatever he does to him. By the way, on that movie, on my commentary on that movie, I showed you that when Neo fell down the tube, right, into the water, and I explained that is a birth, right? That's his rebirth or newly born or something like that. I changed my mind. Now I think it's not that exit wound where we're all born from, right? By it's really the other hose, meaningly they shit'd him down into the sewer, the water, right? So I changed my mind about that, but you know what? I don't want to make a video correcting that. So now notice that.
Try and remove from the digitals from the. You're gonna do what?
Keep noticing Parker. Keep noticing Parker. So here, you can count, like I said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 3, 6. I don't know. You can count. You can keep counting. And there's his hand, right? I don't know if that means anything here. You know, them together.
And then you take the last stuff.
Notice. If you notice in the distance here behind this glass, right? The glass screen, you see that thing I told you it was circumcised or something like that. Notice Parker's movements next to it. Keep noticing Parker. I don't know. Could be a coincidence. Not intentional. Unintentional.
What's it got down his throat?
I would suggest it's speaking in oxygen.
Maybe money
So
here,
it's gonna come.
as well as indoctrination.
It keeps him alive. What the hell is that? Oh, we gotta get it off him.
Listen,
So oxygen may mean money, may mean, like needful things, like they say, per human, like society, like family, like social life, like money, like position, like feeling of importance, and so on.
Something to this thing. We don't know anything about it. Now we're assuming it's there. If we remove it,
Keep noticing Parker.
God.
Okay, face hugger now is, you know what it is. It's a brain work, if you will, position, conversion into another religion or something of the sort. This is pretty much conclusive. The face hugger is really a brain with knuckles, meaningly it's got the power of hold, right? It's able to hold onto your brain, whatever that thing is, right? Okay, got one more thing to show you in this addendum, and then we'll move on to video number 6. All right, I promised to explain Balaji, right? Imperial. I tried to explain it earlier, but I did not finish it. I still do not know what it is, neither will I know what it is. However, I do have a clue, right? Like I said, he is wearing a turban, so he's royal, right? Uh, and he's holding a smoking pipe into his hand, right? Like this, right? Smoking pipe, like the very small pipe that you hold in your hand and then smoke out of it, right? That would be my last name. So I tried to be in this movie. Oh goodness, I couldn't, right? I found myself outside of it. But he's in the mountain region, right? So Balaji is a derivative of an Arabic word called balaj. Balaj, right? Or ablaj or balaja or balaji or something of the sort. It means many things, right? One of which is like the flood of light during dawn, like a burst of dawn, right? Or, like it's got many things, right? Many meanings to it. But it does appear to have something to do with, uh, you know, dawn, breaking dawn, or something of the sort. Or it does have something to do with maybe that is, I don't know, maybe that is Jonesy, or maybe that is the, in fact, here, because it's sitting next to her, right? And it's always in front of her council, right? Balaji, it's on her council. So she's either the daughter of a king or a royal or an emperor, or that's her offspring, right? It means all that to me, right? And then the dress and so on and so it's meaningful. However, it could be as mundane as something else. What I mean by that, and notice here there's the smoke, and here there is the beer. The beer, that Aspen beer, and it's got a few things on it, is drank by Dallas as well as Kane. You'd see Dallas and Kane drinking that kind of beer, right? Aspen, something, I don't know. I don't know the significance of the beer itself. But here that is significant, as I told you. However, it could be as mundane as this. Okay, I'm sorry. So here there is something alien sitting, and here there's another one sitting. So one is on account of here, the other is on account of here as well. Meaningly, remember in the beginning when we introduced the titles and I made commentary on the titles and those bars that scrolled across the screen, that two things attached to here, two bars, and that could be them, right? Two bars attached to them, right? And then there's one here, beer, and these are the bars, right? The beer here, that is drank by being, drank by Dallas as well as Kane. So we're talking about three here, or maybe more, right? But now Balaji is also similar to a name of an actor in the movie, and that actor is really the alien himself, right? The alien itself is played by a Nigerian actor called Bolaji, not Balaji, but Bolaji. So maybe they're trying to honor him by putting his name here. I don't know. But why would they want to distort it? Because if you have enough at your attention span is like long enough, it may actually observe. That's what it is, right? So they're a little bit distracting you. It could also mean that the alien Bolaji, right, which is a Nigerian name derived from Arabic, Bo al-Laji, Abu al-Aji, or something like that, right? It could be, right, that the alien Bolaji, is sitting here or standing here, and the other alien could be here, right? So there are aliens around the table now, and here she's, I don't know, she's eating some kind of grapes here, and so on and so forth, right? But let's see. I think that's Bolaji. That's all I know about Bolaji. If you want, I will put the spelling of Bolaji in the comment section, right? And then you can search for it on the internet, and then there are Arabic dictionaries, Arabic to Arabic, and then you can pull it out, and somebody can help you there, right? But yeah, Balaji, Balaj, or Ablaj. If you say Ablaj, that means the space above his nose between the eyebrows is wide, right? They call him Ablaj, right? Or something of the sort. It's a root, right? Balaj, root or template. Okay, so that's that here. And I really am going to stop here on this addendum. Let me see if I take a notes. Okay, that's all for today. That's the addendum for on video number 5, and we'll go to video number 6 hopefully tomorrow. Have a nice day. Take care. Today is October 22nd and 7:59 p.m. October 22nd, 2024. Good night.